All right. So yes. I think earlier you had mentioned that we cannot use any rude or derogatory language. However, in the LSE BP debate that was sent to us, it contained bad language and was a bit informal. So LSE BP contained bad language because, see, we are trying to give you a reference, but this might be like older students, right? Because our format has younger kids in it and like younger candidates in it. We are following a parliamentary way of conducting ourselves. So please don't use that as your reference. Even if they use like inappropriate language, you shouldn't just do the same and follow suit. Since OG may have shared similar argument, will CG get time to prepare before sharing? No, no, no. CG does not get time to prepare. You already get 15 minutes of prep time. On top of that, you have like the whole opening half happening before you. You have enough and more time to come up with a case. You will not be given extra time. I'm sorry, but I was unable to hear your answer to my question. If you, Ujjwal, very difficult to look at. I mean, I'll just respond to the questions, and you'll have the recording. So even if you were not able to hear, you'd be able to find it in the recording. Okay, to ask a POI, we send a message in the chat POI, and then upon being accepted, we unmute and ask a question. Yes, yes, Ujjwal. Do we have to introduce ourselves as Prime Minister, Deputy, or whatever your role is in the beginning of the debate? Yes, preferably yes. Will CG get time to prepare? Okay, this I've already responded to. How we will get to know about who is our opponent? Well, the tabs will do it. The draws will do it. Okay, there's something called the draws. We will release it. It will be in the like it will be like a picture on the WhatsApp group, and you will be able to see your team number under OGO, CGCO. At the same time, you will be able to see which other teams are going against you as the other sides. All right. Can we rebut POIs? Yes, you are meant to. So to rebut somebody's answer, can we do that in a speech? Yes, you can do everything in your speech. You can't do anything outside of your speech time. My name in the team list is misspelled. It is Asfia. Okay, we'll look into that. Could you please mail us as well about this at hello@oakley.ai? All right, 8 new messages. I'm not going to be taking questions after these 8 questions. All right, I will just practice a little bit and perhaps, hopefully, that will give you more clarity. We'll take a question answer round towards the end as well. Hopefully. Can we introduce what we're going to say in the beginning of a speech? Sure. How will we prepare in less time? I'm going to cover that today, Viraj, before we start prepping. In the rebuttal in our speech, can we include that the rebuttal did not make sense or something like this? Okay, just saying that somebody's rebuttal did not make sense is not something that you want to do. Because see, does did not make sense to you, but maybe it made sense to the other person, the judge, right? So a better way of saying thing of like putting things is to say that you disagree with somebody's rebuttal and you have to give me the reason for why you disagree instead of saying that somebody's rebuttal does not make sense. Now I could be saying to all of your questions in the chat that they don't make sense, so I'm not going to be answering them, right? But then that's very rude. Also, it's unfair for me to do that. So if I don't want to answer a question, I will perhaps first tell you the reason why I don't want to answer it. So when you choose to not engage with something, you first give a qualified reason for why you chose not to engage with something. Okay. So this is what I mean when I say you have to be respectful to your teammates. You can't just say that somebody is not making sense, right? You need to tell me why you think they're not making sense or some such thing. All right. Let me just give me a minute. Let me just go through the questions and I will in bulk answer like whatever I think are the most appropriate questions. Okay, so can we introduce what we're going to say in the beginning of a speech? Yes, you can. In the rebuttal in a speech, can we include that the rebuttal did not make sense? Or something like this, I've already responded. Can CG ask a question to OO? Can CG ask a question to OO? You can ask a question to OO, but OO might or might not accept it. Can we choose to get if we want POI update on chat or verbally? Yes, you can tell. Before you start with your speech, you can clarify that look, I would like to take my POIs only through chat or only verbally because I won't be looking at the chat or I won't have people unmute themselves. So, this is how your introduction goes when you're about to start a speech. You say, hi, I'm Nitiksha, and I'll be doing the Deputy Prime Minister's role or whatever. And post that, you're going to say, that my preferred way of taking the POI is either through chat or verbally. So that's how it generally goes. All right. Can we choose to get it if we want POI updates or chat or verbally? Okay, this is. Is there any age criteria for the debates happening? No, there's no age criteria. There is grade criteria. There's sixth grade and upwards people participating from those grades. How does Prime Minister make introduction? I've already just explained. Do we have to introduce ourselves as Prime Minister, Deputy? Okay, repeat questions, guys. I think we're done with the initial question answer round. We're now going to move into what we were meant to do and like what I had planned for you all. This is going to be very helpful. Be all ears, ask questions after I've explained. This is about how to prep in the 15 minutes prep time that you will be given. Are we ready? And do we understand? Like, are we on the same page? Just give me a thumbs up to just show that you are back, attentive, done with the questions you had to ask. Okay, fair. Give me a minute to start sharing my screen. Just 1 minute, please. All right. Okay. So let's see. All right. Now, if we're looking at how to prep in 15 minutes time, you need to understand first of all, uh, host in the meeting. Could you? Okay, just give me 1 second. I think I need host rights. So first of all, what you need to ensure when you are trying to prep in 15 minutes is that you have already talked to your partner beforehand because it's very difficult to have any compatibility with your teammate on the spot. You should know who your what your like teammate is like, what their preferences are, which speaker role they like to do, etc. Because the thing with not knowing your teammate is that you will not be, yeah, I'm not sharing my screen yet, I'm just giving you some general rules to understand. So not knowing your teammate can really dearly cost you, because somebody who knows their teammate really well is going to do exceptionally well in the rounds as well, because they will not be using their prep time to get to know their teammate, right? They will be using the prep time to think about the motion, while you will still be trying to understand your teammate and what kind of a speaker they are and how they sit with you, I mean how they are with you, like as teammates, etc. So please have that conversation beforehand. We don't want you to be confused, we don't want you to be fighting with each other in the prep time. So have that clarity beforehand. Now, about how to prep in a limited amount of time, right? That's very important. Here, this is the slide. If you all have the deck, you can refer to it when you have time after the session. So first of all, you need to make sure that you divide your time meaningfully. This means if I have 15 minutes, I don't have an endless amount of time to think about a topic, right? If I had, let's say, 8 hours to think about a topic, I'm obviously going to come up with more points than I do when I have only 15 minutes to think about a topic. This means that the best way of going forth is to understand that look, 15 minutes is not enough time. That's why I need to compartmentalize my time for various things that I have to do in this time. The first thing I will do is I will think independently about the motion. And the second thing I will do is I will discuss what I think about the motion with my friend or like with my teammate. So how this is going to be is that, look, your prep time starts now. You have 15 minutes from now. So if it's 7 p.m. right now, hypothetically speaking, then by 7:15 we are supposed to return to the room. How do you ensure that you don't get late returning to the room? You have to start a timer on your phone, on your screen, wherever, to keep track of time. It's very easy for you to forget keeping track of time and then get disqualified because you did not make it back on time. All right. So the first thing you do is you start a timer. The second thing you do is you take the first 2 minutes to think about the topic individually without your teammate. Okay. So you tell your teammate, okay, if my teammate is Anjali, I say, okay, Anjali, you go think by yourself, I'll think by myself, and let's reconvene after 2 minutes. All right. So basically, that way we are giving each other the space to think independently first so that our ideas don't clash, and then we will come back. After 2 minutes have elapsed, we say in the third minute, hey, let's discuss what we have come up with. Then both of you will come up with different ideas. You need to reconcile. You need to say, okay, what is your idea? I think we can use it or not use it. You reason it out with your teammate. Okay. If you think you can use it, you keep it. If you don't think you can use it, you can discard it, etc. So that's when your actual discussion with each other starts. Once that actual discussion is evolving, then you need to understand that, okay, we have some ideas now, but how do we make these ideas uh meaningfully? I mean, how do we articulate them meaningfully in the form of a speech? Then so in the first 5 minutes, you should, so in the first 2 minutes, you are thinking by yourself. In the next 3 minutes, you should perhaps talk about the ideas in general, like what are the ideas that we have. Okay. Then you're left with 10 minutes. In the 10 minutes, take the next 5 minutes to decide what your setup is going to be, like what is the framing, oh, where is this debate happening, who are the stakeholders, why do they matter, the thing that I talked to you about yesterday. And then talk about other things, like how are we going to rebut a point if it comes our way? How are we going to ensure that this is a point that stands, etc. Once you've discussed the analysis, the thoroughgoing understanding of the topic, then in the last 5 minutes, you can perhaps take a break and start writing your speech. Like the first speaker, at least, can start writing their speech. And the second speaker obviously will not write their speech in the prep time because you don't know what your speech is going to have. Your speech is completely dependent on what the other side says, right? Because I can't write my rebuttals beforehand. I don't know what the other side is going to say. So how can I rebut it in the prep time? So the second speaker is supposed to keep thinking in those last 5 minutes to find better arguments, newer arguments, etc. But they can give the first speaker in their team the chance to write their speech because the first speaker needs to be prepared. If you are closing government or closing opposition, then you need not write your speech in advance because it will change according to how the debate happens, right? But if you're going to be prime minister or leader of opposition, then it's highly recommended that you try writing your speech in the last 5 minutes of the prep time. Now let's go through these pointers together. The first 2 minutes of the prep can be used for independent thinking. This is the second point, and this is something I've already explained. Discuss your thoughts with your teammates after that for the next 3 minutes, which would make it a total of 5 minutes. Make sure the speaker going first in the team has all the matter and understands the case you are making. This means that your first speaker should know what you're trying to say as a second speaker. It should not be that my first speaker doesn't know what my case is and I don't know what my first speaker's case is. You should be on the same page. You should know what you're going to say and how you're going to say it as a team. Tips to come up with ideas on any motion immediately then are as follows. One, think about stakeholders. It immediately gives you ways of exploring in different directions. For example, sometimes my opening talks very well about a particular stakeholder, let's say parents in a debate, but they forget that children are also important stakeholders. So you can describe the children as stakeholders on closing in order to win. And you can say that, look, panel, we think we are better than our opening because our opening only focused on like the like older stakeholders. They did not talk about the more vulnerable stakeholders who are children. So when you think about new stakeholders, new arguments also come to you on those stakeholders. So that's important. All right. The second thing is you should think about political, social, economic, technological, and environmental implications of a motion when applicable. What does this mean? When you think I'm running out of ideas and I don't know what to say on this motion, think about it. Is there a political way of thinking about this motion? Is there a social way of thinking about this motion? Economic, technological, or environmental way? What does that mean? For example, in a parent-child relationship. So you might think that a debate on parent and children is not political, but it is actually, if you think about it. Because children go to schools and parents make them go to schools. And schools are not just about education, they're also about control. The government can control you through this educational systems, right? Which means that political matters decide what is going to be taught in school, and what is taught in school impacts the child, and how the child is impacted is how the child behaves with their parents. So in the long scale, in the bigger scheme of things, you see that the politics also impacts the parent-child relationship. All right. Likewise, if you look at the social implication of, obviously, social is what, like how we interact with each other. If the parent interacts with the child and the child interacts with the parent, if they have good relationship or a bad relationship, that's obviously a social concern. Thirdly, economic concern. Sometimes you have people. So, like for example, parent-child relationship. Again, you might think, hey, this is not an economic concern. The budget that the finance minister is going to release event shortly is an economic concern. The GDP of a country is like as an economic concern. But how is parent-child relationship an economic concern? But if you think about it long enough, you will realize that it is in fact an economic concern. So imagine this: there is a child who wants what their friend has, like a gift or something which their parents brought them. Now, the child tells their parents to buy them the exact same, like remote control car or whatever, because their friend has it as well. But what the child does not realize is that the other friend's parents are rich, and his parents or her parents are not all that rich, or cannot afford it right now, or they have other pressing things to do. So this is how finances also come into play, right? What your child asks for, does the child feel financial deprivation? Are you able to meet the child's needs? Do you have self confidence? Like, do you feel sad as a parent about not being able to do enough for your child, etc.? Are all financial, social, and social concerns, right? And then technologically, how is technology related to parent-child relationship? Again, I can say that the child um, uses a lot of devices, because of which there is a communication gap between the parents and the children. This generational gap keeps widening, which makes the relationship really, really bad. So that's how technology is involved. Okay, environment is not involved in this situation, in which case we can leave out environment. So this is how you can keep thinking and thinking and thinking about emotion, if you know that you can find a political, social, economic, technological, or environmental side to it. All right. Um, and that's that. I think this is it. This is how you're supposed to think in 15 minutes. Did this give you guys enough clarity? Can I get a thumbs up if you think you know better now? If there's 132 people on the call, I want at least 75 to give me a thumbs up. Okay, Mudit is saying, ma'am, environmental is also applicable. Yeah, it might be. You're right. But then if it's very, very distant, then you might not want to take it either. Is it necessary to revert or decline a POI? Yes, it is. You either accept it or decline it. Okay. Will the roles change in each round? You can change them. Yeah. I mean, we will, if you mean by roles OGO, CGCO, then yes, they will change, or they might not change. Like I said, the software produces the draws. We don't do anything in it. If by any chance or indirectly we violate any equity, will a points be deducted? If you violate equity, then you will be called to the equity room and action will be taken against you based on the level of offense. So that's not something you want to get into. So try to just walk on eggshells. Can we include pre-rebuttals, like saying that one might say, yeah, you can. This was a question that I was asked yesterday as well. There, yeah, you can. Ma'am, can you go slow? Well, okay. I mean, I understand I might be going very fast. How many of you want me to just slow down? So the thing is, we have a lot to cover, which I understand is like might be a problem. But if you watch the recording, this shouldn't be such a problem. I'm sorry, this is like my pace. It's very difficult for me to just I'll try to slow down from now on. But yeah. Okay. Um, Let me see other questions. I'll slow down, okay? I'm sorry if you weren't able to gather what I was saying because I was going too fast. Ma'am, do you recommend the form of speech to be like, should we jot down key points and expand upon them on the spot, or should we have at least a solid framework of a proper speech? I don't recommend, Aditi, that you have a proper framework of a solid speech. I recommend that you have bullet points, and through the bullet points, you do impromptu speaking. Is it necessary? Okay, repeat question, Akshay. I'm not going to be answering any repeat questions if they were to come in the future. All right. I think we are more or less done here with the questions. So what I'm going to be doing now is I will share a motion with you, okay? I will share a slide on which there is a motion. Everybody is going to think about it. Everybody is going to make one argument on that motion from a particular side, and I will give you feedback on that argument. That's how we're going to practice, okay? That's what the mock is going to be about. But I will no, please don't unmute yourself. But I will only be taking the first few responses. I will not take all responses. So I will give you 5 minutes of prep time. After 5 minutes, I will say, okay, now you may start writing your responses. Then you will start writing. So everybody will get a fair chance to write the response. And if somebody puts their response before I tell you to put the response in the chat, then that will not be accepted. So I will give you 5 minutes of prep time and then I will tell you to write your response in the chat. The first few responses I will be giving feedback on. All right. So now, what is this about? Self-confidence. Saksham, you're going to have to watch the recording from yesterday. I can't explain double R for deputy speeches again. All right. So I'm now sharing. Please be prepared. Also, keep yourselves muted at all points in time. Are you all able to see the motion? Can you all see the motion? Yes? Okay.
Ma'am, we can.
So basically, this is the motion you need to prepare on. Please think about the motion. I'll give you 5 minutes and you don't have to do anything in the chat in these 5 minutes. If you put your response in the chat in the 5 minutes, then I will not be accepting it. I will give you the green light to put your response in the chat, and that's when you're going to start doing it for this to be fair to everybody. Is that understood?
Excuse me, ma'am.
No. Nobody's unmuting. Everybody puts their query in the chat.
Ma'am, but Vice, there's nothing written after Vice.
Please put it in the chat. I'll look into it if there's a typo from my side. Yes, everybody is proposition. Proposition. So if you're proposition, you're supposed to regret. Okay? If you're opposition, you support. Okay, let me copy paste the motion in the chat for everybody's clarity. So the motion reads, I'm saying it out loud. Please write it down for yourself. This house regrets the characterization, or you can say the definition, okay? Don't write characterization. This house regrets the definition of envy as a vice.
Ma'am, what is as a voice?
I will just explain. I'll give you motion clarification. So, envy, you everybody understands? Can you give me a thumbs up if you know what envy means? Okay, envy is looking at somebody else and like wanting their life because you think it's so good. So it's not jealousy, but it's like wanting to be like somebody. Do you get it? So like if let's say you are a very good debater, I'd want to be like you. That's envy. And what is a vice? Can anybody answer in the chat? What is a vice? I think senior category people should know 10th, 11th, 12th grades. Yeah, vice is the opposite of what is it the opposite of? It's the opposite of virtue. Yes, good, Aditi. Yeah. It's basically the opposite of virtue. So virtue are like the good things and vices are the bad things. So for example, jealousy is a vice. Deception is a vice. Like being deceitful is a viceful behavior. Those kinds of things. So vices are. So do you think envy is a vice? Or do you think envy should not be considered a vice? That might not be such a problematic thing. So this house regrets the glorification of envy. I mean, this house regrets the definition of envy as a vice. Proposition will say that yes, we regret that envy is considered a vice. We wouldn't want to consider envy a vice. How many of you understand what you're supposed to argue in favor of now? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, 24 people only. What are the others doing? Out of 120, 22, 24 people understand what they're supposed to do. Keep your thumbs up if you understand what you're supposed to do, because I will start your prep time then.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Not like this in the chat, please.
Ma'am, do we have to do this with a
No,
teammate or
in
alone?
in the chat, please. In the chat. You have to do it alone, not as a team. All right, okay, thank you.
Ma'am, 5 minutes of prep time.
Yeah, I'm yet to start that prep time though. I was giving you clarifications right now. So, all right then. Uh, I will start your prep time and then I will look at whatever is coming my way through the chat. It's 7:01 right now. We will start discussing. I mean, I will tell you to put your answer in the chat at 7:06. So prep till 7:06, okay? You are to yourself. You don't have to prepare a speech, Ahan. You just have to prepare a point which you can put in the chat. Also, your points should not be very too long to read. They should be short pointers. I didn't get how we will prepare in less time. Uh, you can. I mean, it's just one argument that you're supposed to think about. No, you cannot discuss with your teammates. It's an individual activity. This is all right. The case means that envy is not immorally disrespectful. Miss, can we not just choose which side we want? No, no, no. Do proposition, please. This is practice. I decide because in the tournament also we'll be deciding which side you will be on. All right. Okay. Your prep time has started. We meet at 7:06 now.
Ma'am, are we government or opposition?
No
That's
one's
a good
allowed to
question.
unmute. No one's allowed to unmute. Also, please lower your hands now. Your proposition, I've already clarified that. No, Arihan, you can't write more than 1 point because I have to consider a lot of people's points, not just yours. So just 1 point is enough per person. Yes.
Can we start giving points if we have done?
No. Once the prep time is over, I will give you a like I'll give you the permission to put it in the chat, then you may. Okay, whoever has already put their argument, they are not going to be considered because I had categorically said that I will announce when you're supposed to put it in the chat. So I will now, okay, I'll put a message in the chat that now you're allowed. And after whichever messages come after this, my message, are the message I'm going to consider and give feedback to. I don't know why simple instructions are not being heard. It's really not done. Okay, so I'll write as soon as I put allowed in the chat, that's when you give me your arguments. Also, if it's very, very long arguments, like for example, uh, Umber's argument, I won't be able to consider. Sorry, it's too long. It has to be short. All right, so allow. Yes. Okay, that's it. I don't think, okay, that's enough. All right, guys. Let's see. Look at these responses. I don't think I'll be taking the ones that come. I mean, I can't take all of them anyway. Let's just try to pick the first few, like I said I would. Also, I'll be skipping the long ones, so please don't question about that. I had already clarified. Cool. Okay. So yes, envy is a vice. This is Apurva's. I believe this because it causes us to feel ungrateful for what we have. We begin to think that the people we are jealous of are somewhat better than us. So first of all, Apurva, this argument cannot be considered because you're not talking as side proposition here. You've switched to the side that you felt was better, which is opposition. You can't do that. When you're given a side, you're supposed to stick to it. So we'll move to Nikunj's arguments, right? Envy, mostly considered a vice, is often an overstatement of this human emotion. Envy is the motivation for many people who want to do better than others and strive for the top position. Yes, fair enough. You can say that envy makes you do better, and something that wants you to do better is not something that you can consider a vice. That's a fair argument, but you can also give examples for how this can like boost people to become better, etc., in order to make your argument sound better. But yes, good effort, Nikunj. Anugya Jha's argument. We regret because it usually motivates the person to do better. Okay, same as Nikunj's argument. When you feel inspired, even if by envy, you're likely to work harder to achieve those goals intrinsically. Plus, you don't envy someone you can't possibly be like because of structural reason, but instead are more likely to set realistic. This is a very good argument. So Janya, if I'm sorry if I'm like completely butchering your name in how it's pronounced, but really well put. So you're basically talking about how when people envy, they set realistic standards. Although this might not be true, but then again, you have to manipulate the definition a little bit in your favor, so it's fine. So you're saying that people set realistic standards, and with realistic standards, you're able to also just vie for the same position yourself, and that is why envy is not such a bad trait. I like how everything's been put and it brings like new nuances into the case. So well done there. Siddhi Yadav, envy is a presentiment that can arise even in a person without any bad intentions of abusing anyone. Yes, good. That's a new perspective. So you can say that, look, envy does not mean to harm anybody. So because of envy, you might choose to harm somebody, but that doesn't always happen. Okay. So if we are talking about something that, I mean, you might become envious, but then you might not want to harm that person. It's a natural feeling. And whatever is natural cannot be loathed. So that's why envy is not so bad. Right? Now, Ariana, if that's how it's pronounced, envy is not wise because you can strive to be the person that you want to be like, and that it can motivate you to achieve that specific goal. Yes, fair, but it's also a repeat argument. Envy shouldn't be considered as a vice because wanting what somebody else has is not just being jealous, but it inspires you. Again, same argument. Envy shouldn't be okay. Mehek's argument. They slowly try to become like them, forgetting their true personality. Mehak, you've gone from the other side, which wasn't like needed. You had to be proposition. You ended up arguing as opposition. Zoya's argument. Definition of envy is envy is usually characterized as a bad feeling. On the contrary, it actually supporting factor the growth of your character. Again, motivation, growth. Already made these arguments in the past. Let's see if there's new arguments. Sahaj's argument is we cannot entirely tag a complex human emotion as a negative one. Envy can be thought of as a way of prompting someone as a motivational tool. Okay, again, motivation. Envy is a natural characteristic of humans, yes. Everybody is talking about motivation. All right. Harms mental health as people think that they are not supposed to feel this way. This takes a toll on the mental health of the person. Good. Shreya, I like how you're thinking. So Shreya's argument at 7 p.m. If you guys want to have a look at it, this is a new argument. Okay. So if Shreya was going closing, she would win over opening because she is not making the argument on motivation like everybody else. She's saying something new. She's saying that if you call envy a vice, and if it naturally occurs to me, then I will think that I'm a bad person. That's why I'm envious. When the truth is that everybody feels envious at some point in time because this is a natural human response, right? So good job there. Tashi says that envy can be used as a way to fuel, okay, again, motivation. Saksham's argument, again, make you better, improve motivation. Kanishk, envy is not a vice but virtue because gives motivation, okay. Helps recognize shortcomings in oneself. That might be a new point. Well done there. Um, Athar's argument is also about wanting of a better life, which is again motivation, etc. Ahan's argument is we regret the definition of envy as a vice because envy means jealousy, and it is not necessary that we want the life of others. So I regret the point that envy should be defined as a vice. Okay, this does not have enough analysis though, Ahan. You need to analyze it like other people are analyzing, right? Like, I think you've said the same thing twice without giving me a reason why you were saying what you're saying. Envy is considered a vice because it is an action of despising someone for what they have or who they are, and it is bad for oneself to be stuck thinking that someone is better than you. It can cause stress and anxiety. But again, Arna, you are speaking as opposition when I told you to go proposition. Aditi, the personification of envy as a vice leads to a society or people individually belonging to a society become non-progressive. This house regrets it since envy leads to a sort of character growth. Yes, okay, that's an argument that a lot of people have been making. Jeet says that It is very normal for people to be envious of other people's lives. It looks like the other people's life is perfect, but they are not, and not everyone knows each other's problems. One could say that, but then why should we not consider it a vice? That's something that's still not happened. You're giving me the reason for why we feel envious, but you're not giving me the reason for why we should not call it a vice, Jeet. So that's something that you might want to fix. Daria's argument is political. This reduces political competition as many times a good political competition happens because the opposition party has envied feelings towards the ruling party, and that can result in undemocratic I don't think this is directly related. I mean, I don't understand how thinking of envy as a normal human behavior is going to reduce political competition. That's not made clear by that argument, uh, unfortunately. Anya says that envy shouldn't be characterized as vice because vicious acts or bad habits harm others, but being envious doesn't harm. Yes, okay, that's a point that's been made. Vihan says that experiencing envy can lead to self-reflection and personal development. Yes, good. I think two people have made this argument so far. It's a good argument, and it's not run as widely as motivation and like character growth. Sarah says it is natural to envy someone since other people could be better than you at something, and you would want to be like them. Yes, okay. I think a lot of repeat arguments. Human nature, motivation. Okay, done. These are these many arguments I can read. I'm reading through the other responses as well. If I find something exceptionally good, I'll acknowledge that. See, you shouldn't say things like this, like ignorant people of the world. Like who are ignorant people, right? Are you saying people who don't have formal education, they are ignorant people? Are you saying ignorant people are people who don't go to fancy schools like we do? I mean, it's a very like bad sort of a phraseology, right? You might want to make it kinder in how you say things. Okay, lower your hands, guys. Why is Arihan, Saksham, and Akshit? Why are you guys raising your hands? Okay. All right. I love how Ambers put this argument, though. Look at the last argument. I was looking for something new. So, see, they are making the point that if we call envy a vice, we are characterizing a fundamental human expression as immoral and denying the right to expression. So they have linked right to expression with envy. They're saying that it's principally bad for us to say that vice is like problematic because the thing is that I'm sorry that envy is problematic because envy you when I say that I'm envious of somebody, I'm only telling you what I feel. And if you're telling me that, look, being envious is bad, then you're getting me to bottle up my emotions, which naturally come to me, right? It's like shaming people for their humanity, for what they feel, for how God has made them, etc. Excellent argument made there. Okay, you want what you don't have. All right. Okay, guys, no more arguments, please. I've gone through each and every argument. I have looked for some gems. If I've seen very good arguments, I've acknowledged them. Okay, all right. Okay, then. How much time do we have left? We could do two things. We could quickly take five, six responses on another motion, or I could answer a couple of questions. Although answering questions becomes very boring because I've already answered all the questions. But if you have any new questions, okay, let's do a vote. Okay, I will put two messages in the chat. React with a thumbs up to the message to do the voting. Okay, so one of the messages will say question answer QA, and the other message will say one more prep, one more case prep. Just react to these messages to tell me what you prefer. Why are you reacting to Abir and Deepta's messages? That's not going to be considered.
Because your message is not visible in the chat.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This happened to be okay. I'm so sorry. I ended up sending it to somebody's private chat. Okay, question QA. One more. We definitely have one more case prep winning right now. Question answer is definitely losing big time. Okay, we will do one more case prep. There is obviously a winner with us. One more case prep wins. I will share a motion with you all, and you guys can prep on it for 5 minutes and then put your answers in the chat. Please try to think about an argument that not many people will think about. So try to think as closing. If you were closing government on this motion, how would you think? Because see, a lot of you argued for motivation, and everybody was making the same argument. That way you wouldn't win, right? You'd lose. So think about making new arguments and how you can come up with new arguments. Let's see. I'll share my screen for the motion.
Ma'am, but how would we know the opposition, the not opposition, the other person's argument without looking
Yeah,
at
I
them?
think that's okay. First of all, you're not supposed to unmute yourself. But
Sorry,
secondly,
sorry.
I understand that it's difficult to figure out what everybody will say, but the argument that comes to you like right off the bat, immediately, is an argument that will come to other people also immediately. Because that's how our minds work, right? Right now, if I talk to you about not giving farmers not giving farmers the right to sell their crops. What is the common argument that comes to our mind? That they don't have enough security, right? They don't have financial security, etc. So basically, think about how do we think about several things? And what are the most prominent concerns that everybody will be talking about? This comes with practice, actually. There is no other way around it. Also, in the deck that I have shared, you will see that in for motion for day 4, this motion, this house supports the glorification of soldiers as heroes. You will also find the various arguments you can make on the deck. Okay, so if you want any
मीटिंग खत्म नहीं चल रहा है
मैम
बोल
आर वी प्रॉप और ऑप ऑन दिस
I prop
है
all
बाद में आ जाऊंगी नहीं बोल ओए मेरे लिए कुछ खाने का ले आओ
this
आई डोंट
first.
नो मेरे को भूख लग रही है
Somebody is asking for food and you are not on mute. Could you please mute yourself?
हाँ मीटिंग में हाँ तो फिर बाद में बात कर लेंगे
Anushka, I've muted you. Please keep yourself.
अनुष्का म्यूट योरसेल्फ
Yes, this is your motion. Is everybody able to see the motion? If not, I'm also repeating it here. This house supports the glorification of soldiers as heroes. All of you are side proposition, not opposition. You're supposed to support the glorification of soldiers as heroes. Here, I've also given you hints to come up with good arguments, like what you need to define, who are the stakeholders, where is this debate happening. You have 5 minutes, which means that we are at 7:22 right now. You will, or not 5 minutes actually. You guys can start putting like giving your inputs as soon as you come up with an argument. All right. So the floor is open. You can put it in the chat. Short responses will be considered because long responses will take a lot of time for me to read and reflect upon. And yes, we will discuss as and when we get responses in the chat. You're free to share your responses in the chat. Okay, so we have two responses. First of all, heroes are people who save us, and soldiers have save our lives. Uh, that's why glorification is justified. But then your opposition could say that look, doctors also save your life, teachers also make your life, if not save your life. They save you from committing bad things, they make you better individuals, which helps you to make better decisions, which is how teachers also indirectly save you. So why are you only crediting soldiers with saving your life? All right. So that's the kind of thing that you might have to deal with. The term heroes means the people who protect, say, save our planet, such as soldiers who save our Earth. Veronica, that doesn't quite. I don't understand how environment has been brought into the debate here. They live far from their family, live in hard climatic conditions just to save their motherland. Glorification can motivate them. Okay, that's a fair argument, Mehak. Also, good reasons given that look, this profession is different because this profession leads to a lot of sacrifice, which not other professions, not other professions are not supposed to indulge in. For example, a doctor might spend their whole day in the hospital, but then the fact that they're able to come back to their family, the fact that they make a lot of money these days because everybody respects their job is not something that the soldiers also have in common with doctors. That's something that you can push. So that's good. Okay. Soldier, my father is an army officer. We know how difficult it is for the whole family to live away from a father when we know he's near the country's border. These sacrifices need to be recognized. That's okay. I mean, I understand the argument that you're making, but the thing is that, see, it's better to not just talk about your father, but talk about the community in general. So while talking about your father is a very good sort of an anecdote which is going to enhance the quality of the argument, it can't start with that example, okay? So analysis has to be general, that people in general suffer, people in general want their like families in general want their loved one to be near them, and then you can give your father's example, and that will make more sense. But well said. Uh, okay. If soldiers are not given enough respect and acknowledgement, their desire and motivation. Okay, it's a repeat argument. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Soldiers are known as heroes. Just 1 second. I've lost track of the chat. Glorifying. Okay, the responses. You can stop with the responses now, please, because I'm finding it hard to stay on one chat with every like new responses coming in. We need soldiers to be glorified as heroes because often not everybody sees and experiences what a soldier does. Okay, it's a repeat argument about the struggles they have had. Glorifying is acknowledging the contribution and sacrifice they have made for us. If we do not glorify soldiers, we will be denying the contribution they have rendered. Okay, similar arguments.
Excuse me,
They're
ma'am.
not
Could you
only,
please tell me which argument we are on?
we are on Arna's argument 7:25 p.m. I am picking the arguments which are short but also like not repeat arguments. Soldiers are not only saving our lives but risking their lives in doing so. Okay, but this needs more explanation because everybody risks their life in some sense of the word, right? For example, a doctor also risks their life because see, it's not just about dying. It's also about the kind of blood you have to see and the number of people dying you have to see in a day as a doctor. So different professions have different way of making you feel like weaker and like not so good. Okay. Politically, working as a soldier is glorified, then more people are likely to view being in the army and serving their country as a good thing, and we will want to do it themselves. And will want to do it themselves. This is a good argument, Arihan. So basically, you're saying that look, it's important for us to encourage people to be in the army because not many people want to do this job, perhaps because of the danger it entails, etc. So if you want to encourage people to be in this professional field, then you need to glorify it because glorification gets more and more people to subscribe to it. For example, the UPSC services. I don't think everybody knows what goes into being an IS officer or what the life of an IS officer looks like. But still, almost everybody wants to be an IS officer because there's so much of glorification that's happened of these services, right? So, a very good argument made there. I think this is a winning argument because everybody else is just talking about how soldiers struggle and everything. It's the only occupation which does not have any discrimination. It is the only occupation which does not have any discrimination, Akshit says, or any type of crimes. Akshit, that might not be true. We think first of all, soldiers are if you glorify soldiers, you're also glorifying violence because soldiers don't do a roundtable conference to solve matters. They fight on the battlefield and they uh, trounce the opposition, or like whichever country they're fighting against, in order to declare victory. This means that by glorifying soldiers, you would also be glorifying violence is something that your op can say. And you can't say that there is no discrimination in the rank of the soldiers, etc. There's a lot of ranks that are there, and there's a general, and then what the general says that the soldiers have to listen to, etc. So discrimination does exist in every profession, and soldiers are a part of it. So that's not correct. Okay, I think these many responses I'm going to take. Most of the responses are just about how soldiers suffer a lot. I need you to do better, guys, in terms of if you were closing, then this argument would already have been run by your opposition opening. So practice making new arguments. Okay, practice making like off the beaten track kind of arguments. This will help you sharpen your debating skills.